Welcome back, guys, to another Top 10 Rocket League Players of 2016. This time, I am talking about the one, the only, gReazymeister, who, you know, had a pretty good end of the year, I would say so. RLCS Season 2 World Champ. One of the most successful players this entire year. That's why he falls at number 4. I just think individually, he might have slipped just below who we're going to talk about next, possibly. I mean, to be honest, I actually had him at 3 for a really long time, and I kept looking at it, and I just couldn't find the argument. Like, there's obviously arguments for him to be up there at number 3, but as you'll find out tomorrow, who I have at number 3 and why I have them there, I just thought he was better suited at number 4, but a hell of a year for him. I don't think he really cares at all. He's an RLCS Season 2 World Champion, and he's on the best team in the world, Flipside Tactics, right now. So things worked out pretty well for him, I would say. So let's get right into it. We'll start off. He started off on a Supersonic Avengers all the way back in January. They had the Gfinity Invitational. They actually came in second place. It was really impressive. No one really thought they would be up there. It was really a fight between Crown and Jewels and Flipside Tactics at the time. The Gfinity Invitational was the top 7 teams and Team Rocket competing from the Europe side of things in a double elim best of 7 series, except for the grand finals, which was best of 9. So they did pretty well. They defeated Spectral, who they should have beat, to be fair. Crown and Jewels, though, they beat them. Very impressive win there. And MyXMG, which is another team that was like right around that 3rd to 4th to 5th spot where Supersonic Avengers were also competing at the time in Europe. So pretty impressive wins there. And then they faced Flipside after coming all the way through the lower bracket and got destroyed in the finals 5-0. Then onto the Pro League. Supersonic Avengers, they finished in 5th place with a 15-15 regular season record. They were the 4th seed in Europe. And they finished 17-19 total. But in the regular season, they defeated SK Gaming, Spectral, and Flipside Tactics, which, again, really impressive win there. They seem to come alive here or there, like versus the top teams. It just wasn't consistent enough usually. And this got them that record of only 15-15 while beating Flipside is really strange. But they got that 4th seed in Europe. They had to face the number 1 seed coming out of North America. And, you know, honestly, that's usually not a bad thing. But Kings of Urban, this was one of the few times when they were a 1 seed playing a 4 seed in Europe where they actually won. They won 4-2 in the quarterfinal. And that ended Supersonic Avengers basically team. Because at that point, Maestro and gReazy were like, hey, we really like this Remco guy. So let's go join up with him. And that's where we go into the next series. April through June, quarter number 2, We Dem Girls makes their appearance and makes a really loud and strong appearance. They were so dominant through these 3 months. It was absolutely insane. gReazy participated in all 9 of the Rocket Royale Internationals, and I've said this before in most of the videos. International was a lot harder than the regional side because only 2 teams out of Europe could make the top 4, and they would have played 2 other teams from North America. So they finished in 1st 3 times, 2nd twice, 3rd twice, and if you're doing the math at home, that's 7 out of 9 podium appearances. Extremely impressive when you're in the better region. And definitely at this time, that they still are the better region, Europe, but definitely at this time, Europe was way more dominant than North America and still coming out as top 2 of Europe. At least 7 of the 9. I think they might have got 1/4 in there too, but I don't have this written down and I forgot. But yeah, that's really impressive there. And then, of course, qualifier number 1, they came in 2nd place. They were the EU number 1 seed. They finished 26-9 during the regular season. Incredible performance there. But, again, that Flipside team, they show up when it matters. They showed up in the finals, beating We Dem Girls 4-2 in the finals. So giving them a lot of points going into qualifier number 2. But also, basically the entire year was, once April hit, was We Dem Girls or Flipside, was who's the number 1 team in the world. And that basically was the entire year after that. And gReazy was a huge part of that. His player stats aren't necessarily the greatest here or there. they were still really good because when you're on a team like Weedham Girls finishing 26-9, you were really impressive. He was, one thing he does really well is sets up his teammates. #1 in assists during the entirety of Season 1, and #2 in assists at the LAN, which we'll get to in a second, but let's go over these stats a little bit more. But one thing he does kind of poorly, and he's done this all year, is shooting percentage. He's not the greatest shooter in the world. He finished with a 25% shooting percentage at the LAN. That was 9th worst, which isn't terrible. That's like middle of the pack. So there was 24 players total. 9th worst, you know, do the math. Wasn't outstanding, but again, like on a team like Weedham Girls, with all that pressure, he does get the shots in on net. Just sometimes location isn't the greatest, but at the same time, he does also force goalies into juicy rebounds. So it's kind of like are these assists for shots, or were these shots just poor here or there? It's hard to tell, obviously, without going through every single shot. But he's obviously improved his play a lot when he joined up with Markey and Cooks here on flip side. But he still had some bit of a run with Northern Gaming, and we'll go into quarter 3 in a second. Just want to get this replay done and head it over to the next one. But like, it's hard because I feel like on Northern Gaming, it's hard to say who's the best player on Northern Gaming. I think at times it was Remco. I think at times it was Maestro. I'm not sure if Greasy kind of held that title in general. But some people think he did, obviously. I'm not the only one. It's just my opinion. But obviously Flipside saw something in him, so they picked him up. But we're getting ahead of ourselves once again. Let's go back into this. We'll go into quarter number 3, July through September. Now, Rocket Royale was back, but this time it was regional, so it was a little bit easier. And he participated in 5 of 7. Came in first twice and second twice. This was during his rotation out of Northern Gaming. This is when Northern Gaming picked up Weedham Girls right before the first LAN. And here's where he played somewhat Flipside, somewhat Northern Gaming. But going into the LAN, they finished first in Qualifier 2. That was the infamous Flipside DQ for the 3rd place after they lost to Supersonic Avengers. They actually knocked out Supersonic Avengers from having a chance of making LAN by winning the Europe Qualifier number 2, and they finished with the most points to get that Europe number 1 seed, which is always extremely impressive because Europe, obviously the toughest region right now, coming out as the number 1 seed is always a huge accomplishment, and they were huge favorites going into the LAN as well. It was either them or Flipside, everyone thought. People thought maybe Flipside has a little bit more experience in intense environments, but at the same time, Northern Gaming, they showed it a lot during the RLCS that they can perform. So they go into LAN as the first seed. Again, kind of getting an easy bracket here. Beating Genesis, but then Exodus, which was a solid team, they 3-0'd Mocket. They absolutely dismantled them. And then they went on to day 2, the infamous day 2 for Northern Gaming, losing both games to iBuyP, or iBuyPower. I think I said iBuyP, which I think Carpet said that once on stream, and we always make fun of him. I think it was Carpet, or maybe it was Leaf. I can't remember. But iBuyPower, and then losing to Flipside as well in the lower bracket, which was a common occurrence there. But once that happened, Greasy decided to join Flipside because everyone knew Mike was going to step down. And Greasy, a lot of it from what I've heard around the grapevine, is he wanted a team that really wanted to be dedicated and getting a lot of practice in. And Flipside was that decision for him. That had to be a really tough decision because really Flipside kind of got weakened by them losing Mike, and Northern Gaming probably could have excelled to that top spot. But I think either decision for Greasy could have been great, and he decided with Flipside, and it obviously worked out perfectly for him, so I bet he has no regrets whatsoever. But at first, it was a little shaky going into RLCS season number 3. Or 2, I'm sorry. Not 3 yet. We're not there yet. It started off a little rough. They had a shaky week 1, barely getting the win. And then Greasy went on vacation, so they had this man called Jazer coming in. You know, maybe you've heard of him. Not sure. And then he came back week number 3. They didn't look good at all. But then week 4, they finally started turning it on. And then they turned it on a ton during the regional playoffs. They got first in Europe, defeating Precision Z 4-1 in the semifinals, and then defeating Northern Gaming 4-0. gReazy's old team, they absolutely dominated them all season. Week 4 was also the week where Flipside beat Northern Gaming 3-0 with gReazy in there. And Northern Gaming could just not find an answer for this new team, with Northern Gaming picking up Mystic to replace gReazy, which, you know, Mystic is definitely not gReazy caliber, so I think it weakened Northern a lot as well. While gReazy joined Flipside, I think that, you know, made them a lot better, but it also weakened their main competition, which was a good move. So either move would have been great for him. It's very smart, obviously. Flipside just absolutely dominated. Then they go to the LAN. They defeated Take-3, which is actually a closer series than I was expecting. Then they had to face Energy once again in the lower bracket. And they also defeated Northern Gaming once again 4-1. So they beat them 11-1 throughout the season. But they did lose to Maked Aces on day 1, 3-1. But they got their revenge. 4-1, 4-1 in the finals. gReazy was a huge part of it. Sometimes on teams, you would say, hey, there's kind of a third wheel that's kind of not necessarily along for the ride, but just not up to the caliber of the other two players. And when you're playing with Marky and Cooks, that could easily be the case for 99.99% of players. But gReazy definitely fit into that role well. He was definitely behind Cooks here and Marky throughout the season in stats, and I think in just general play, but he still performed really, really well. I'm only knocking him a tiny bit, putting him at number 4, because I think someone else might have done a little better in the LAN environment. But his stats, again, for RLCS Season 2, again, he was really a great passer with number 4 in assists. But again, shooting percentage really plagues him. But at the same time, some of these shots could be assists, so, you know, keep that in mind. But 18% shooting percentage at the LAN. He was 5th worst at the LAN. And keep in mind that Genesis only scored 6 goals at the entirety of the LAN. All 3 of them were behind him. So, not the greatest shooting percentage performance from gReazy. And you can see why he's really good at passing, like that shot right there. Holy cow. But at the same time, sometimes that's all you need to do is apply the pressure. And that's what gReazy does. He's always done it on Weedham Girls or Northern Gaming. And then comes in and does the same thing on Flipside Tactics. It did take a little while for them to gel, but they were Season 2 World Champions. And I'm not taking anything away from gReazy. He played phenomenally. I just think maybe someone on some other team has really shined a lot as well. And, of course, it's hard to tell how much he's improved because he's also playing with 2 of the best players in the world. But at the same time, he made that decision, a very smart decision, to play with them. And he's going to get overshadowed a little bit because he's got players like Cooks here and Marky on his team. But gReazymeister coming in at number 4, outstanding player. His hair can probably kill you, probably stab you and kill you, but absolutely incredible player. He had a 3rd place at RLCS Season 2 LAN. He had a 1st place at RLCS, Season 2 LAN. Season 1 LAN, a 3rd place. And with a lot of switches, too, throughout the year. He switched a lot of teams. And it was really impressive because he started off on Supersonic Avengers. And then he moved on here. Let's just watch this pass by one more time. We'll see it coming up here. He started off on Supersonic Avengers, then decided it was a better idea to go team up with Remco, which was a phenomenal decision. They dominated throughout the summer. And then he thought, hey, maybe Flipside is the team I need to be on. And another great decision. They dominated in the fall. It's been on a dominant team throughout most of the year, except for Supersonic Avengers. But I think sometimes he gets a little overshadowed by his teammates. But he's still a phenomenal player nonetheless. But yeah, that's gReazymeister, number 4 coming in on the top 10 players of 2016. We only got 3 players left, guys. And most of you will definitely know 2 of them. I think I've hinted at the 3rd player as well. We'll see where they rank, though. That could be a little surprising, but we'll see how it goes from here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And gReazy, again, in 2017, he's still on Flipside. I expect more domination from this team. So you'll be seeing a lot of him during RLCS Season number 3. But thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.